PlayStation 1 games have exploded in price, especially RPGs. So I decided to talk to one of our producers, John, who also happens to work at Retro-Taku Videogames, to get his insights as to what is actually happening. Well, John, I heard you got some PlayStation games in.
Oh yeah, I got quite a few. These two are on hold for a customer. But as you can see, these are pretty sweet games.
Now, how long did you have those before they were on hold?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. And we got a $150 game and a $600 game?
$550.
$550.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Bushido Blade too.
Yeah. As you can see, like, just a lot of games have gone up like a fair amount. Some crazy amounts, but...
what was that worth, like, a couple months ago?
I think it was probably like 20, 30. But like some games went from being like 30 to like 150.
Just in the last couple months or just since COVID?
In like the last like 2 months.
Last 2 months. So what have you seen at the start of COVID so far? Have you seen that massive bubble here?
Yeah, at the start of COVID, it was mostly like Game Boy and GameCube. Nintendo 64 jumped like crazy, but then dipped because there were a lot more repros entering the market. But most of the disc-based stuff, like the average person isn't going to want to like put like an optical drive emulator. It's way too complicated for the average person. Yeah, demand on these kind of shifted, and then these started like just spiking like crazy. But only some of them. Like the Final Fantasies are all still pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those were very mass produced.
So it's not like Saturn where like anything worth having is crazy money, but it's definitely, there are a lot of stuff that's getting pretty expensive. But there's still a lot of really cheap, really good stuff on the system, so it's still one I'd highly recommend.
So basically, it wasn't necessarily pandemic, but probably pandemic and also the tastes over the last couple months have shifted a little bit more PlayStation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have started like kind of re-entering the job market. Now they've got, money to spend on stuff like this, and I've been noticing interest in like PlayStation going up quite a bit.
So what do you think about the prices here? What sort of response have you gotten?
Well, usually whenever there's a big price hike, people don't notice that it's actually the market jumped, and we kind of have to follow it. Otherwise, people will just buy it, put it on eBay, and then make money off of it. And it's like, that doesn't pay our bills, so it doesn't pay my income. So Mario 64. Okay, here's a perfect example. Right after we were allowed to reopen from the lockdown, this was going for about $60. And then, we had like 2 copies, sold out immediately. A couple of people traded them in. They sold immediately because people were like, oh my gosh, you need to grab that before it gets any more expensive. But a lot of the 64 collectors, I've noticed, they don't really care if it's a repro or not. And they're oddly willing to pay like surprisingly high amounts, or they don't realize that's a thing. So the price went back down to like 35, and now everybody who bought at 60 refuses to trade in because like, no, I bought this at 60. You should be giving me like at least 20. It's like,
the market fluctuates.
Unfortunately, you bought at the highest point.
So if I, for example,
so it's a lot harder to actually get that game in now.
Yeah. So if I buy stock, and then my stock goes down, does that company owe me the difference?
Yeah. Well, I guess the upside is that no matter what you paid, at the end of the day, you still get Super Mario 64. It's still a pretty fun game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the upside of like, instead of like collecting stamps or something like that, like a stamp, you can mail something with it, you can stare at it, you can trade it. At least GoldenEye you can actually play.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that like, any sort of like confusion or backlash is just basically like, it's just the market is going so wild right now.
There's also a lot of digital versions of these games, like Suikoden 2, $10 on PSN. So if like you absolutely have to play it and you really, really want to play it on a PlayStation, there you go.
Yeah. So this is the higher end stuff is a collector's game.
Yeah, it's gotten into like now that you see all these people like grading games and doing stuff like that, it's really, really gotten into that.
So do you think that the release of all of these RPGs on the Switch, like PS1 RPGs, have anything to do with people getting re-interested in that era?
It's partly that, and I think there's also a lot of people streaming that sort of era of stuff now. The interest jumps up like a ton. And now there's more streamers than there have ever been, and more varieties of them. So, because I've noticed what happens is like the CIB market goes crazy, and then lagging behind it is often the loose. So when I realized, I was like, if I don't buy this now, next time I see it, it's going to be too much. Like 2 years ago, we had a complete in box Silent Hill come in. It was $50.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to grab that. Like, I remember watching my friend Vince back in the day play it. It seemed like it's one of those games I've been wanting to go back to. But I thought, you know what? I'm not that huge into it. I'm going to let somebody else have it who can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Love Silent Hill. And then I'll just grab the next cheap loose disc. Next time a loose disc came in, that loose disc was $70. So it was like, okay, so I bought that loose disc.
Yeah.
And now that loose disc is like $140.
Oh my God.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's just, you can almost not catch up. Yeah.
And now it's like, I would just simply be like, well, I guess I'm just not going to play that game. What we've got here is a cheap, I think this is about $13. And it's a tracing light pad. So you'd put a piece of paper and then you could easily trace with it. However, what I bought it for is if I get Blu-ray games, that one's already been bindered, and I set them on here, the transparency through it is like very, very nice for spotting pinholes and deep scratches. However, it's not great at PlayStation 1, but this cheap one is actually kind of brilliant because, see up in the corner there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at all throughout there. You can see just Swiss cheese in that disc. And that's easily the best tool I've ever bought.
So you utilize this with all of the PS1 RPGs that are super expensive.
Yeah.
Make sure they're actually playable, etc., etc.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 questions for you before I let you go here, John.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate for the future of PS1 games in terms of pricing, specifically RPGs? Do you see them still going up, or do you see this as a bubble that's about to burst?
I think because it shot up so quick, I think it's a bit of a bubble, and it'll go down a bit, but I suspect it's going to kind of, and then go a little bit. So it's like, some of these games, I definitely see them going to those prices, if not staying there. But like, I imagine seeing some of them drop, but sooner or later, yeah, I think they're going to be that price. Because I see that happen from time to time.
What system is your next prediction for the big bubble?
Well, PlayStation 2, a lot of stuff on there started spiking, but a lot of it hasn't spiked nearly as hard. Some things have. Like, some things have always been expensive on PlayStation 2. But like, a lot of things went up a lot quicker than I would have thought. God Hand's a $200 game now. I bought it for $60. But like, here and there's some that are shooting up like crazy. It isn't expensive yet, but everywhere I go, I cannot find any Armored Core games anywhere. So,
So, John, any final words before I let you go here today?
It has paid off really, really well, keeping my thumb near the pulse of PlayStation 1 stuff, because like, it jumped so fast that if you go out like right now into a lot of stores, there's a lot of places where I bought Jersey Devil box and game, $26. That's like $55.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of places, like, the price jumped like 2 weeks ago and it came in 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of really good deals to grab right now if you're careful.
If you're looking around.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is John. We're at Retro-Taku. We'll see you guys later.